Hello, everybody. We welcome you back. The power of story is the power to change how we view the world and our place in it. That was said by Soong-Chan Rah in his book, Many Colors. The reason why we want to encourage you to be able to tell your stories is for that particular reason. It is incredibly powerful. And what we want to do is ask you at this time now to take some time, be intentional, take moments to reflect on how you could share your story about your new worshiping community so that people understand your new worshiping community's place in our world. Because we believe that each and every one of your new worshiping community matters and has a place in it. And the most important way in which you can get that message across is for you to be able to share your story in a clear and compelling way.
Stories excite and they draw people in and they give people a way to connect with you and your story. In the upcoming videos, these are informal conversations. They are not the way that any one of these new worshiping community leaders would tell the story of their community. But in our informal conversations, as we were talking about the material for the Accelerator, this is how some of the new worshiping communities we've been hearing from, this is how some of their leaders told parts of their story.
So when Shalom started, as I said before, we went into the community and started, knocking at doors. And we met a young man who just came to the United States. And he was new, he was still learning English. He didn't know a place to go and worship. He felt like every day was just inside because he didn't have friends. And from the first day that we met, we introduced ourselves that we are part of this community and would like to invite you also to be part of this community. And there are young people like you who have come into this country maybe a year or 3, 4, and we would love you to come and meet with them. And that was a beginning of his not only journey in America, but also his faith journey here in America. And seeing him coming to worship, taking leadership, participating in the PCUSA activities and conferences, it kind of summarized who we are at Shalom, where we go out and seek the well-being of the community. And as we seek that well-being, Eliseo also is finding his own well-being and also sharing that well-being with others in the community, which is tied to that African philosophy of Ubuntu, like I am, because we are, therefore we are. We met him, he came and be part of this community. Now he's also going out and also spreading that good news where he's inviting people to worship, he's inviting people to learn, he's inviting people to ensure that hospitality and healing. It's just powerful to see the transformation, and all started with a knock and a greeting, and now it's a relationship and growth. That's the power of telling stories.
We did our first staff reviews this year. And so that was my first review in 3 years. And they asked us to make goals. And what I'd heard over and over this year, we've been working on stewardship. We've been working on how do we let the neighborhood know who we are as we continue to grow. And I kept hearing over and over, like, well, you need to be a storyteller. I am not a great storyteller. And so for my staff review, I wrote, I've got to get better at telling stories. And so I cannot overemphasize in the last 3 years, the coaches, the retreats, the books I've read talk so much about storytelling. And so one of the practices that's helped me is I actually have to write out stories. My memory doesn't work like that. I'm a pretty linear thinker, and I think in ideas, and so stories just don't come naturally to me. So I actually have to journal stories after they happen. I have to write it down. I have to internalize it. And so I think it's a great practice that if you have an encounter that inspired you or elevated you or really encompassed something of your community, don't let it be lost in your memory. It would get lost in mine. Go home and write it down. Write it down in your sermon notebook or wherever you write things down, because those things are going to be the blocks of how you build buy-in from people, how you ask people to participate financially. It's going to be how people who've never stepped into your door are going to hear about you. And so practice telling the stories.
I believe any new community change lives, make amazing things for God. Tell this is important. Important you share this in small pieces. No, sometimes we think if I share a lot of photos or a lot of things, the people see you do many things, see happy with you. But I learned this in the process. It's not true. Sometimes it's better you share 10 little stories instead of one big news or big newsletters. Again, I don't lost the opportunity. You know, don't matter the place where the people invite me. Again, I'm still not feel comfortable with my English, but the people invite me for preaching, invite me for teaching, invite me for talk about. Don't matter, I'm good. I use the PowerPoints, things for helping me. Words I don't say correct way, they spell these words or speak this word, but I don't lost the opportunity. When door open, I'm sure, because I believe this is a door open for God. I talk this for immigrant pastors. I think another friends like me, arrive here, don't understand, go there. Don't be afraid. Tell your history, share, because this brings far in the heart the another people. They started dreaming with our mission together. I think this way is make the people see with your eyes, feeling your feelings. In this moment, you be part of this.
One of the things that we hope that you walk away from hearing these stories is that there is no cookie cutter story. There is no one-size-fits-all story. And as you could tell from our new worshiping community leaders that we heard from, each story is a little bit different, but yet each story is incredibly powerful and compelling. Not only is there not one cookie cutter story that encapsulates everybody's experience, oftentimes you're going to be in situations where you're not going to have a cookie cutter audience. You might get a 30-second opportunity to talk to somebody about your ministry. You might get a little bit longer, a couple minutes, walk down the aisle or a hallway where you can share a little bit about your story and your ministry. You might be given a platform at the presbytery or other places where you are invited to share and speak so that perhaps you can get some support and funding, where you're given about 15 minutes to share your story. All that being said is that the principle of sharing a powerful, compelling story exists regardless of the medium, regardless of the time frame, regardless of your audience. What has to happen is, based on your audience, the length of that story may have to shift. The length of that story may have to evolve, shorter, longer, even longer. The point being is that, is your story told in such a way, whether it's 30 seconds, whether it's 2 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes, is it told in such a way where you are able to paint a picture about who you are? Is it told in such a way where the person sitting across from you or the community sitting across from you, do they understand why you exist and what you're doing? Are you able to connect your heart with theirs so that they can fully support and invest in what you are doing? Because that is the power of a story.
What we're asking of you as we close this accelerator is that you do two things in your cohort meeting. One, come prepared to do 30 seconds. How you would talk to your community with somebody at a picnic or at a party or some other venue where they say, hey, I hear you're starting a new worshiping community. Tell me about it. And then we also want you to think through the 5-minute, more polished, you need to stand up and actually talk with somebody on a mission committee at a church you'd like to have be a partner, at the Presbytery meeting, for a funder, you name it. We'd like for you to go ahead, and you can do this any way you want. You can just get on Zoom with your cohort and do your 5 minutes right there. You can do it back and forth with PowerPoint. You can create your own video and upload it and let your cohort watch it and then talk about it afterwards. However you want, for whatever it works for you, we would like for you to be very intentional and give some thought to 30 seconds and then the 5-minute story, and share them back and forth, give tips to one another, and really enjoy the incredible stories that are coming out of our new worshiping communities as God does so much in and through you.